So I am here speaking with Academy Award-winning actor George Chakiris. Thank you for speaking with me today.
God, my pleasure. Thank you.
I feel like I already know you after reading your memoir because it's probably the friendliest memoir I have ever read. Like, it felt like I was chatting with an old friend.
Oh, my God. Well, good. I hope that's a good sign.
Certainly. So I know you discussed this in the intro of your book, but do you mind discussing when you started writing My West Side Story, a memoir, and what made you decide to write it?
Well, it's not anything I ever thought of because I didn't take myself serious enough to think that I should do anything like that. But I coincidentally met a wonderful writer, Lindsay Harrison, who I ended up doing the book with. Lindsay's done some wonderful books. She did a really good book with Tippi Hedren. And I knew Lindsay, not well, but I knew her socially. And being a writer herself, she's the one who thought I should do that or think about it at least. And so thanks to Lindsay, I finally thought, well, why not? There is something to talk about, and I got started really more thanks to Lindsay's advice.
And you said you never thought of yourself writing a book, and you described yourself in your memoir as being quite shy. So what sort of response have you gotten from your friends and fans?
Well, let's see. A few friends have read the book and have said nice things about it, but friends do that. But I have been to a few book signings and gotten really nice response from people, generally speaking. So, and that's pretty much it. I've had reservations myself since finishing the book. I thought, oh my God, why didn't there's so much I forgot to think about putting in the book, but that's just the way things happen. I did best with Lindsay whenever it was like a Q&A, so to speak, because that's the best way for me to jog my memory, so to speak. And it was thanks to that kind of discussion that helped me remember some things. But since we finished the book, I've since thought a lot of things. Why didn't I put that in the book? Just didn't think of it. But I guess that happens to everybody.
And, like I said, it was a really friendly read. So many memoirs, they're fine. Sometimes they get a little catty and they bash people a little bit. And there's not a lot of that in there. It's overall a very positive, feel-good read, I thought.
Well, you know what? One of the things I have thought about my book, and I thought about it while I was doing it, was how honest. I mean, I want to be honest, but do I want to talk about people? And because I've worked with a lot of people over the years and known quite a few people, and some really, really, very famous people. And so there are things, personal things, I know about a number of people that I wouldn't dream of repeating in a book, much less even in company. I respect people's privacy, and I think that makes my book a little boring.
No,
but it really comes from respecting everybody's privacy. I really do feel strongly about that.
Right, and not everybody always thinks that way. So I think that's a respectful, way to look at it.
Thanks.
And, so throughout your book, you discuss, obviously this really focuses, and it's a very brisk read as well as being really pleasant, as I shared. But, you discuss your both stage and your screen roles that you've done, and obviously also television. Do you have a preference of live performances or films, or?
Well, it's really kind of both. It always depends on the material, but as an actor, I've always loved the theater, I think. I think a lot of people say the same thing because you're sharing that evening with an audience. There's no director around anymore. It's up to you. The ball is in your court, and it's an exciting kind of process, and it really you come alive in a really wonderful, wonderful way on stage. That it is a bit different from film in that regard. Performing in front of a live audience, there's a different energy, excitement, and everything throughout the theater, and certainly for the people on stage. And there's and also the audiences, without saying anything, you kind of feel you're doing well, the audience always
Mm-hmm.
kind of lets you know how you're doing. But live theater is what I would say I prefer, because after the rehearsal process and you're out of the rehearsal room and the director is no longer available, it's really your ball game. It's really the ball is in your court, and that's a beautiful feeling because you're free. To me, that's the most exhilarating way of working as an actor is in live theater.
One role you played in live theater was your first connection to West Side Story. That was playing Riff in the West End production of West Side Story, and then you played Bernardo on screen. You know, you became very close to both characters. Do you have one you prefer now?
Well, you know, I loved playing Riff, and when I first said they would test me, and they asked me to do, United Artists asked me to do a scene as Riff and a scene as Bernardo, and I was very arrogantly thought to myself, I thought, I don't want to play Bernardo, I want to play Riff. I'm having such a good time playing Riff. But when all is said and done, now, with all of it behind me, I think I would say I would prefer the role of Bernardo. There's not just more meat on the bones, but I can identify and understand Bernardo, I think, better than I understood Riff. It's interesting. Riff in the theater is a slightly better role than Bernardo, only because Riff gets to sing cool. In the film version, the role of Bernardo, and that is the shark, there's a little more meat on the bones because the guys are involved in the American number with the girls, and there's some small additional scenes. So that became a better role in the films.
Mm-hmm. Was that difficult seeing somebody else, if you don't mind me asking this, playing a role that, you know, like Riff, that you had also learned so closely as well?
No, not at all. Because, you know, of course, Russ is he's a great friend. But no, it didn't bother me at all. I was concentrated on what I was doing at the time, that is playing Bernardo. So nothing else really entered my mind other than that. That was the work at hand, and that's what I had to do, and what I ultimately really loved doing.
So, you know, obviously you're a trained dancer, and there's so many fabulous dance numbers in West Side Story.
Yeah.
This might be a difficult question, but do you have a favorite dance number from that film?
Well, yeah, we all, the American number, but all the numbers are great. The American number is a wonderful number, and we had such fun doing it. We worked hard, but we played, we laughed, and it was such a glorious, uplifting kind of experience. I love the American number. We all had such a great time doing the American number, the guys and the girls playing with each other, but that spirit was with us, while we were shooting and between takes as well. We never stopped playing, and we never stopped having fun. So that's one of the reasons that I love the American number, because I remember the experience and how we all loved working, you know, playing with each other. It was great fun.
I think that shows on screen too.
You know, I think that does show on screen, because it's really quite genuine, all of it. Yeah, I'm glad you think that. Thank you. But about 2 weeks ago or something like that, West Side Story was on Turner Classic Movies, and I haven't seen it for like 50 years or something, and I watched it, and I was so moved by it. But Cool, the number Cool, done by Tucker Smith, who plays Ice, he sings it, and Tucker is just amazing. He's so true, but it's such a great number. The scene that precedes it and the scene that follows it are all of a piece, and Jerry always choreographed for character and for what people feeling. And in Cool, that's exactly what that number is about. It's about feeling and the way they feel, and they want to explode and pop and do all that. And Tucker, as Ice, brings them that saying, "You've got to be cool." So they're controlling the way they feel, and it's so evident in the lyric and in Jerry's staging and in Tucker, all the performances. I think Cool is just a sensational number.
So we were just discussing, you know, playing Riff on the stage and Bernardo. and then, you know, how you've become so well known for the character of Bernardo, which you won a Best Supporting Actor for. So how, you know, that was, I guess, 59 years now when you won that Academy Award. How do you feel that Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor changed your life?
Well, hey, it really completely changed my life. I think I still always think basically as a dancer, and don't take myself as seriously as but winning the Academy Award, first of all, opened a tremendous door to future projects and all of that. It made a tremendous difference in what was available to me, you know, it's a tremendous honor, but you know, that was such a tremendous year, because when I think about the other actors who were nominated in that category, it was a very, very strong year. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, George C. Scott, Montgomery Clift. I mean, it's and then me, and so I feel very modest about it, and I think it was the tremendous. Not that I don't apologize for my performance by saying this. I don't mean that, but I do recognize that the success, tremendous success of West Side Story, of course, catapulted all of us, mm-hmm. whoever we were, and whatever our association with the film was. But I'm tremendously grateful, and even more grateful when I consider and think about the other actors who were in that category. I mean, Montgomery Clift has always been one of my favorite actors, period. You know, so it was tremendous. What can I say?
So moving on a little bit from West Side Story, that obviously catapulted your career into various film roles. I wanted to talk a little bit about Diamond Head, because I have to admit, I'll give you a little background on myself. I first saw West Side Story when I was 14, and truthfully, I don't know that I would have my website or be talking to you if it wasn't for seeing that film. It has such a large influence with me and made me seek out other musical films. So I also wanted to watch every film that all the stars were in, and so I sought out Diamond Head. And I just remember you and James Barron and Yvette Mimieux and Charlton Heston. Do you remember a lot of experiences about working on that film?
I do. First of all, everybody on that film was great just to know, and by extension, of course, to work with. Charlton Heston was just a wonderful, wonderful man. His wife was with him, and I really respected them and their marriage and the way they were with each other. They were a beautiful couple. He was modest. He was a very, very professional. And when he went to Russia, he always took a yellow legal pad with him to make notes on his own performance. He never stopped working on that performance while he was filming. And by the way, years later, I was in London. I think it was 1978 or 79, doing a play. And he and his wife were in town. They came to see the play, and they came backstage. So it was that was awfully nice as well. But Jimmy Barron, I mean, this sounds really boring to say, but he's just a sweet, sweet guy. He and his wife are still good friends of mine. I didn't get to know Yvette. She was very quiet. That's not a criticism. I'm just saying she was quiet. Mm-hmm. I think most people can tend to be quiet when they're working because they're concentrating on what they're doing. By the way, but just quickly, sometimes because I was one of the guys behind Marilyn Monroe in that number, Diamond's a Girl's Best Friend from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, people mm-hmm. always say, I wonder if I know anything about Marilyn Monroe. Of course, I don't. Yeah. I was just in the background. But the thing I remember about her, too, thinking back, is how quiet she was and how concentrated she was on her work. So I think that's basically true of most people on the job. But so Diamond had, and by the way, the one, you know, I have friends, a lot of people in the business, men and women, very often feel quote unquote typecast. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, I'm sure you know, in Diamond Head, I played Hapa Howley, who is half white and half Hawaiian. So I suppose I was typecast in some degree in that as well. I didn't mind it, and I didn't think of it at the time. But in retrospect, because of these, the politically what's going on today, I realized I was having to put up with that too, and I didn't mind it, but it was going on. I think it always has gone on. and probably always will go on in different ways. But it was a great experience. The location was Kauai, beautiful, beautiful island. And at that time, there were only 2 hotels on that island. One of them did not take show business people. so we were in the other hotel, which was a really nice. You couldn't complain. It was but it was kind of a perfect kind of working circumstance for all those reasons. All the people in it. Chuck was so great. The hotel was lovely. Hawaii, and I loved that weather. I mean, it was like almost like a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was when I was working on Diamond Head that I took a week to come to Los Angeles for the Academy Awards. So,
yeah.
But again, it was. I've never seen that movie, by the way. So, but I do remember liking the experience for all of those reasons.
And another movie I wanted to mention that you discussed in your book is The Big Cube. I know it's a wild movie, but I like it for some reason because you're in it and Lana Turner's in it. So what are your experiences on that and that role?
Well, I'll tell you, again, I don't sound like a broken record, but that was a nice experience, too. I turned that movie down twice before I actually did it because I wasn't happy. I don't remember why specifically. I don't consider myself a very good judge of scripts, but I thought that one was lacking in some way, and they said we'll make changes, whatever they made. But I ended up doing it, and Tito Davison, the director, lovely, lovely man, and just like saying I was in one of the guys behind Marilyn Monroe. I love, you'll understand this, I think. I love being able to say I made a movie with Lana Turner. I mean, and she was great, by the way. She was very gregarious, very friendly to everyone. There was no class problem with her. I think I had always heard this about her even before, that she was such a proficient movie actress, more than a movie actress, but in movies she really was capable because she was so prepared of doing things in 1 or 2 takes and being great every time. But the main thing that I really appreciated about her was her friendliness, her gregariousness, her not acting like Lana Turner or what we thought Lana Turner, the way she might behave. She was really lovely, very down to earth.
I always like to hear stuff like that they were nice. You always hope that about stars whose films you enjoy. So you were in many dance numbers even before West Side Story. You mentioned Marilyn Monroe and obviously White Christmas. Do you have a favorite dance number on screen where you were in the chorus?
Well, you mentioned Gentlemen Prefer Blonde and White Christmas. Those 2 are my favorites for different reasons. In White Christmas, Rosemary Clooney does a number called "Love You Didn't Do Right by Me" with just 4 guys. And because there were just 4 of us, we were more visible instead of a number that had a lot more dances in it. So I love the song, and I love Rosie. She was such a lovely person. Rosie was just so great. And then the other one that I really love to drop a name, Marilyn Monroe. Who doesn't want to drop that name? But it gives me such a kick and such pleasure to be able to say I was one of the guys behind Marilyn Monroe in the Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend number. And by the way, when you're working on something, you're concentrating on the work. And one of the things, in retrospect, thinking back, I noticed about her, at least thought I noticed about her, was she was very quiet and very, very concentrated on her work, of course, because that was the most important thing. And I love, by the way, most performers are quiet. They save their energy because they're concentrating on the work. And I like saying it about her, especially because there are so many preconceived opinions about her.
Right.
And I like pointing out what a serious, reflective, really devoted performer she was.
I think I don't know that I knew this before delving into your memoir, is that you had a recording career and put out some records. Do you mind speaking a little bit on that? It sounded like that was something you really liked.
No, I don't mind. You know, I was playing riff in London in 1959 into 1950 a bit, and there was a recording company there, a small recording company called Saga Records, because in the theater version of West Side Story, Riff does sing. So they asked me to do some recordings, and I ended up doing with I think was a pretty good album, all Gershwin songs, and you can't go too wrong with Gershwin. It's still. By the way, you may not know. Do you know who Richard Attenborough is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Well, after I made that album and it was released, I paid no attention to it. I was just thrilled to have done it and really loved doing it because I love singing so much and live orchestras and all of that. But there was a really highfalutin kind of hi-fi magazine, and Richard Attenborough gave me a really good review in that magazine. I've always on that album, so I've always remembered that. And then a little bit later, after West Side Story, Capitol Records signed me to a recording contract. And the thing I can say about recording is how much I loved it. Some songs obviously are better than other songs. Later in the recording business, people sometimes would do albums together and they weren't even in the same room or even in the same country. But for Capitol Records, I was in the studio with the full orchestra, and I mean it was just thrilling, thrilling to hear all those musicians play together and then be able to sing with them. I loved recording was one of my maybe my favorite thing, but I really loved it so much.
How many records did you put out?
Well, let's see. I think at Capitol ended up. I think it's only 3. It could be 4, but I can only think of 3 at the moment. My recording part of my life was cut short by not a very good decision on the part of a woman who was my manager. She didn't like what Capitol was doing. I had no problem with it. I always loved it. And I was working on a movie musical in France called The Young Girls of Rochefort. And we were her name was Ruth, and Ruth and I were on the phone about something, catching up. I can't remember what. And at the very end of that phone call, she said, "By the way, I've canceled your Capitol contract." Well, it went right over my head. I was so concerned about thinking of other things. So that kind of brought that to an end. That's one of my really deep regrets because I love recording and music so much, you know. So, and that's why I didn't do more albums. I should have. And Capitol was, ready to do that, but she changed it all.
Oh. Do you mind talking about your Jacques Demy experience?
Oh, no, not at all. I know in the book I say he was kind of temperamental, and he was, but he was a man of tremendous imagination, talent. I mean, he was actually terrific. You did have to tread lightly with him, not just me, but the bottom line is he was, no matter what he did, he was right. One of the things that my agents in France said, in France, the movie belongs to the director. And that basically is correct. But lots of times, in my experience, too, the movie didn't always belong to the director. For example, working with Yul Brynner, it really belonged to Yul. Or but in France, that was not the case. No matter who the star was, the director was the star of the piece. Gene Kelly, as you probably know, was in that film as well.
Right. And
Gene, of course, was. No one knew movie musicals better than Gene. No one. And he was. I didn't watch him film his musical sequences, but I heard, because everybody talks to everybody, that one of the things that he was doing that he did not like, and he felt he didn't need to do, was to do extensive and long takes as part of it. Because when Gene created a number, he created each section of a number for a particular camera angle. Jacques Demy didn't like working that way. The way Jacques worked, and it's fine, was to do as many takes as he needed to do, and then to edit the film in the editing room, and that's the way he shaped a musical number. So and he did a beautiful job. The only person who wasn't happy in the working process with that was Gene, because he was having to do. We all did long takes of things that would never be seen on film, you know.
Yeah.
But Jacques to me was a really wonderfully talented, really talented guy.
So veering a little bit from your film, well, a lot of it from your film career, I understand you do some jewelry design, and I've looked at your website before. How did you get into jewelry design? Because I know you're a dancer and an actor, and then now a jewelry designer.
Well, it was a hobby, you know, because I think most of us have hobbies. Painting. Tony Bennett, as an example of someone who was a prolific painter, artist, but it probably started as a hobby. But that's how jewelry started with me, just as a hobby, and turned out to be something I really enjoyed doing, and bit by bit got familiar with the jewelry district downtown Los Angeles, and so and I ended up making, I can't remember how many pieces, maybe just 6 or 7 pieces, something like that. And I was working with a manufacturer downtown who were just helping me, and there was a Japanese distributor who saw my things and liked them and wanted to represent me in Japan. So it became more than a hobby, just via that association. I still work with that same distributor in Japan, and I sell online and in Japan. Yeah.
So besides writing your memoir, what is George Chakiris doing today in 2021?
Getting over a cold. No. Yeah, I was in the. I've always been. I used the word quiet before. I'm a pretty quiet person. You know, I have my friends. I have my family, and that's how I spend my time. I'm pretty good and okay spending time alone. And I still exercise. Not dance classes like I used to, but I still exercise. That's kind of just a need. I don't feel good without it. And working with the jewelry in a more limited way, and just living my life that way. The jewelry thing continues. Again, it's more than a hobby, but I don't feel as if I need to keep creating pieces every month or something like that. So it's a lazier kind of hobby right now. But that's how I spend my time, socially, with friends, my family. Just now, hopefully getting back to theater and things like that, because for so long we haven't been able to do that. And also I'm very politically interested in what's going on in the country. So and that takes up a lot of time.
Just because I'm curious, you know, I know especially growing up, you were a major musical fan. Like you say that you went to see all the movies. What is your favorite, other than West Side Story, movie musical?
Oh boy, wow. Well, I'll tell you one that comes. There's a movie with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Their first. After all their RKO black and white musicals, they did a movie called at Metro called The Barclays of Broadway in color. And when I knew that movie was coming to town, I couldn't wait to see it. I was holding my breath practically, and I even got kind of superstitious. Oh, what will happen if I don't get to see it? Anyway, I did get to see it. I love that number for that reason. Well, because of them, they're tremendous. But there are so many other musical numbers that I love as well. But that one comes to mind just because I was so eager to see it and was so grateful that I got to see it.
Well, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Is there anything we didn't discuss that you'd like to add?
No, you've been terrific. Thank you.
Well, I you know, not to be corny or anything, but I've been a big fan since I was a teenager, and so it's really, I'm very humbled that you have spoken with me today. If 14-year-old Jessica knew that I was going to get to speak with you one day, I don't know what I would have done.
Well, listen, I'm humbled too. I mean, it sounds corny for me to say it, but it really is true. It's fun to talk to anybody who's interested in what you have to say. That's a real treat, you know.
I understand. Yeah, definitely. But again, I really enjoyed your book. I actually have one of the ones you signed at Larry Edmunds in Los Angeles. I've been trying to order from them since I haven't been able to get out to Los Angeles since the pandemic. I'm over here on the East Coast. So hopefully I'll be back over there maybe for the Turner Classic Movies Film Festival. We'll see.
Oh, God. Okay. Turner Classic Movies, my favorite channel.
Yeah. So I do appreciate you so much and for taking the time to talk with me.
Well, honestly, it really has been fun talking to you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.